The opposition party leaders are focusing on health care in these dying days of the election campaign. Both Jamie Bailey and Gary Burrell are saying this is the issue of this campaign. And as Jean Laroche is here to tell us, they're each focusing on a word the Premier won't use to argue that Stephen McNeil isn't the one to fix what ails the system. So let me guess what that word is, Jean.
Well, in fact, that word is crisis. You'll remember during the CBC debate almost a week ago, Tom, during the discussion on health care, NDP leader Gary Burrell put a simple but loaded question to the Liberal leader.
In your opinion, is there or is there not a health care crisis in Nova Scotia?
Do I believe there's a crisis? No. I believe there are challenges in the healthcare system.
Since then, both Burrell and PC leader Jamie Bailey have been making a big deal out of the fact that the Premier doesn't think the system is, in fact, in crisis.
Well, Mr. McNeil does acknowledge that there are challenges in the system. So why is that word crisis so important to the other leaders?
Well, because they and others feel that if the person running the province doesn't see it as a crisis, then it doesn't warrant their full attention. And they see that as a big part of this problem.
Do you register the urgency of this matter? Are you moved by the urgency of this matter? Are you prepared to dedicate it your foremost attention? I think a person who doesn't recognize a crisis is not apt to bring that.
It is a crisis. Nova Scotians are coming forward in the hundreds. That's new. Doctors are coming forward and saying the system's falling apart. That's new. So what can we do now is the question. And for Mr. McNeil and Mr. McLeveen, it's to actually deny there's a crisis. The first step to success is to admit the obvious, that our system is in crisis.
Well, clearly there's a political advantage to getting McNeil to agree that the system is in crisis. That's because, like others before him, he has promised to make things better. And if he's now ready to admit they're still in crisis after 3.5 years in power, well, then the opposition can point and say, as they have been, the Liberals can't fix health care, we can and will, and that's why you should vote for us. Essentially, Tom, they're trying to make the state of healthcare the ballot box question. In other words, the deciding factor on where people will mark their X on Tuesday.
Yeah, so I guess the question is it working?
Well, that's a really hard question to answer for those who feel healthcare has gotten worse under the Liberals. The answer is likely yes. So those people might be more apt to vote for someone other than the Liberals. We know there have been a handful of nonpartisan rallies, most notably in Cape Breton, and doctors are speaking out more about this. For those who feel things have not changed but are skeptical that another party can do any better, this won't be the question that determines where they mark their X.
All right, Jean, thank you. Jean Laroche.
And the healthcare in crisis debate will continue to be ramped up tonight. Have a look at this. This is a live shot of the South Berwick Community Hall. It's empty now, but not for long. In just under half an hour, Progressive Conservative leader Jamie Bailey will be holding a rally there, completely devoted to, well, you guessed it, healthcare.
And I'll talk to former Deputy Minister of Health, Kevin McNamara, about the state of healthcare in this province. Join us for our newsmaker just after 6:30.
And continuing with our election coverage tonight, we're going to take a closer look at the race for Sydney Whitney Pier. The Liberals won the riding in a by-election in 2015 after longtime New Democrat Gordie Goss resigned due to health reasons. And Liberal leader Stephen McNeil is doing what he can to keep the seat. Gary Mansfield has more.
We want to build a more prosperous Nova Scotia.
The Premier is spending a lot of time in Sydney Whitney Pier to support Liberal candidate Derek MOMBOURQUETTE. The 36-year-old won the seat in a by-election in 2015 with 49% of the vote. Today, he was busy defending the Liberals' health care and education plans.
Collaborative centers right across the province, more in this community that will include family physicians, nurse practitioners, family practice nurses, and mental health professionals to support the community. In regards to education, we're seeing class caps come in from grade 7s to 12. I believe that's going to bring more resources. We're going to hire more resources to support those caps.
Madonna Doucette is a single mom and a youth educator. She's busy again campaigning for the NDP, hoping to turn the seat orange. In the 2015 by-election, the 42-year-old lost to MOMBOURQUETTE. Doucette says this time it's different because people are upset with health care decisions made by the McNeil's Liberals.
$17 million that Gary Burrell and the NDP have earmarked specifically to address Cape Breton's health care crisis, and the $120 million total that he's looking to invest over the next 4 years in health care in Nova Scotia would make the real impact.
And I'm hoping you'll consider me on election day.
It's Laurie McIntosh's first time running for the PCs. The 58-year-old is a retired teacher. She says healthcare is the #1 concern among many voters, but education is a close second.
They're angry. They feel it's a time for change. With the passing of Bill 75, I know with Mr. Bailey, the Honorable Jamie Bailey, will repeal Bill 75 as well as Bill 148, and he will sit down and negotiate with teachers.
Gary Mansfield, CBC News, Sydney.
And as always, you can find more election coverage on our website at cbc.ca/ns. And you can also check out our poll tracker to see how the parties are doing.